right now we are working on sealing the leakages we had here for the attachments for both the cutter stay and the inner forestay.
So the inner forestay goes here, and this for cutter stay is just the holder when you're not using it to move it in.
Yeah.
Look at that. No wonder it's leaking. It's completely loose, everything.
But when we started doing that, we also realized that we need to take a decision on the teak deck and what we're gonna do about it. When we first bought the boat and saw the deck, we were kind of certain that we would remove it and paint it with some anti-slip paint or something instead.
Which would mean quite a lot of job. I mean, I think we did a quick calculation that we think there are like 4,000 screws into the deck. I mean, that's 4,000 potential leakage points that could go into our very sensitive balsa core deck. We haven't seen any evidence of leaking in the deck from where we have exposed balsa core, except from this area, but here it was obviously leak. I mean, here it was leaking from these holes, not necessarily from the screw holes. So
there most parts of the boat have
GRP, or like the core is removed.
Yeah, so
intentionally already when they built the boat. So where places where it's supposed to be a hatch, the core is already removed.
Like these hatches, for example, the core is removed. But for example, in these smaller hatches in front of them, there is nothing, and there you can see into the balsa core, and that balsa core looks fine. Except there was some leakages in this window.
But that was once again from the window itself, not from the actual teak deck.
So it gives some hint. I guess we will at some point discover something.
Of course, there are areas where it's been leaking, but it doesn't seem to be that severe.
No.
So at the point of buying the boat, we were quite certain that we were gonna remove it.
Then we sanded a little bit. It looks really nice. So we're actually thinking of restoring it. Or we have decided to restore it.
And it's quite a lot of things into that. I mean, we've been a bit forth and back for a while, but we have a lot of teak plugs. I mean, it's probably more teak plugs gone than left staying on the deck. We think actually the deck itself sits with just the glue. And here we got some evidence here because we removed a small piece that was loose under the attachment point there, and it's really a solid surface, or a completely even surface of glue underneath. And then we have the part of how much teak is left. We think it was 12 millimeters from the beginning. Right now it's probably down to 8-ish. Okay, so anyhow, what we have decided is that we're gonna remove the screws that are flush to the teak, fill it with epoxy and put the plug in, sand everything down to a roughly even surface. Then we're gonna re-caulk it, because there's a lot of places where it's really bad.
Yeah.
And then sand it down again to get an even surface. I mean, we could try to take out screws, drill them deeper, put in a screw with a flatter head. That could be an option, but it feels like it's not really necessary, because we don't think it will. It really feels like it will sit with the glue itself. And the other option would be to take everything away and do the job of filling up all the holes and paint the deck instead. But as you said, when we started to sand it, it's actually super nice with a nice teak deck. We realized. We have always been like, we don't really care if it's a teak deck or not. It doesn't really matter. But
we want to have a practical, easy maintenance. But
Yeah.
Since we already have it, and it's gonna be probably least effort for us to actually restore it compared to other options. Then it's just, yeah, then we have to survive the maintenance later as well.
Yeah, and then we'll see what we'll do in future. I mean, this will obviously be a big work, but it's still a big job, but it still feels like it's, I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong saying that right now, but it doesn't feel to be that much. And we can do it in sequences as well. We don't need to do everything at once as well, so for the situation we're in, it feels like the best option right now, at least.
We would just do what's necessary here right now for deck removing some of the, what was it called?
Caulking. Caulk.
I don't know.
Caulking.
So that we could seal this, and then we'll continue with the rest later on. And when we do this later on, we're gonna buy proper tools for it. Right now we just use whatever we have. Now we're gonna start sealing these holes. So we have drilled out the core material, cleaned it with acetone, and added some tape from underneath.
And also grinded the surfaces as good as possible with this one.
This hole is very big, for example. So we're just gonna add some thickened epoxy first, so it doesn't like pour through the tape and into the boat. These syringes are so nice to have when working with these hole thingies. I think we bought this from like a vet store or something.
Normally they're quite expensive. We bought like 100 pack or something like that.
Yeah.
We had them since we were working on our last boat.
Very useful. So now we've filled up a bit, but not all of it, because it's quite thick. So we don't dare to fill up everything, so it gets like super hot when the epoxy cures.
We'll just leave it like this now until it sets a bit, and then we'll continue before it's cured fully, so we still have some kind of bond between the two layers here.
Time to pour in the final epoxy.
So we've done this in 3 sequences now. We still got a bit hot in the last one.
In order to attach this piece here, we realized we have to fix this big teak piece here, and this one we want to remove, because it's been lifting a little bit here in the corners. I don't know if it's possible to see on the camera, but
Okay, so we have started to drill out all the, or first of all screw out all the screws where there are no plugs anymore, and then we drill out the plugs all the way down, So we're not going to put any new screws in. After this we'll just leave this a bit now in the sun here, really to make sure everything is super dry. It is dry already, but I think just leave it a bit, and then we will clean it up, put in some epoxy, make sure that it doesn't continue to flow into the screw hole, and then put the plug in. And we did some tests yesterday on if we should put any. I mean, obviously these plugs should never be taken out again. They will be here until we remove the deck, basically. But yeah, we tested some different ideas. If we should just let the epoxy in the bottom hold the plug in place. I mean, some people say that the plug just stays in place without any glue as well. If you have a good fit with the drill, you just tap it in and then it stays there. Because if you put any glue on the sides of the plug, you will have some. We did that on this one. You will have a lot of excess glue around the plug, and that I mean, it will be a bit difficult to sand off because we don't really have that much margin of sanding either. So we might actually need, when we sand this, we might actually need to leave some low spots like this. And then, I mean, obviously everything will grey out after a while anyway, but then it will be very difficult to sand down any excess epoxy around the plugs. So I think we'll just put some epoxy, let the epoxy in the bottom hold the plug in place, basically.
We start with this area because we need to attach the attachments for the forestay.
The inner forestay is attached here, and we need to seal this up. So we just started off here as an experiment.
Yes. Then we take the rest of the deck later on.
Also worth mentioning is that we might actually, I mean, in some places we could keep the screw, and we'll try to keep the screws on the edge pieces, as we think they are a bit more, I mean, maybe likely to come loose, I guess. So finally we got the connection for the inner forestay, or maybe it's baby stay. I'm not actually sure what's the right terminology here, but anyhow, let's call it inner forestay for now. So we got the connection for the inner forestay done, sealed up, attached again. We also added the hydraulic tensioner, and for the first time put the actual inner forestay connected to it there. So that's it's a really good milestone achieved. So actually before we haven't really had the ability to tighten the inner forestay up enough. We put it with some, we tried to tighten it up with some ropes, but you need quite a lot of tension to actually straighten out the rod. And now you can see that it's bent or something like that at very close to the connection to the mast. I think we'll try to hoist up and see what's going on there, but most likely, I mean, this rod has been loose for a very long time, and I think, or most likely we will actually change that one, because it's very difficult to know the status of the rod after being loose for so long time. Yeah, and maybe we'll go for Dyneema there. Maybe that will be our first Dyneema tryout. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought that much about it, but it seems like a good position to start to try it out. Next step today is to try to fit a piece of teak that we took out that was completely loose from the glue. So that's what I'm going to. That's what I'm gonna try to do now, to fit it in, and then we need to pick up some glue to actually put it in place later on. So the edges of the old teak is cleaned up, and I put the rough cut new piece in place, and I'm just gonna take some marks for trying to even out the spacing for the caulking to be, I don't know, I think we have 4 millimeters from before. I'll try to target something like that as good as possible, and we'll see how it ends up. So now we're priming the bottom side of the teak piece that's going to be glued in the front.
It's Sika multi-primer marine.
But there's so many different primers and products. So this one is supposed to be for the teak, and then there's another one for the gel coat that we are gluing it to. So a lot of primers.
Next surface is going to be primed, but first some acetone. And now the activator.
Okay, time to glue the piece in place. You're supposed to have I'm not sure if it's called glue spreader, but we cannot really find ours. I'm not sure where it is. So we'll just have to improvise and try to spread it out in a good way anyway. First it's going to be very interesting to see how this works.
So it's much thinner than normal Sika. Or like the... I know this is also Sika, but the one you usually use for marine purposes. All glued up. We didn't use too little, at least.
That's a bit too much there.
The glue has now cured, so but we're working on removing the glue that has spilled out over. We were afraid to use too little of it, so had some extra.
It's quite a lot of job to take it away. Okay, so it's time to sand down the new piece so it gets closer to the same thickness as the old one, so it's possible to get the caulking and push it down. And we have, I think it's like maybe 3 millimeters to take off, something like that. But we have a 40 grit paper, so it should go pretty fast, but let's see. So we're trying to put this tape in the bottom, and that is so the caulking should not adhere there, so it only adheres to two sides, and then it's supposed to get a better flexibility. But it is a pain in the ass to get this one down in this, and to make it sit properly. So, and also the old ones are not taped. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll just don't do it, I think.
We're just gonna add some tape on places where the old teak is a little bit low.
Yeah, so we don't get a mess into the deep grooves. We should also do it here.
Yeah, and then it's time for the
for the
Vad kallar man den igen då?
Caulking. Caulking. Caulk.
So that was the last of the tape.
Yeah. It's impossible to not get dirty when doing this.
Well, let's just wait for this to cure and then we can
Sand it off. We took out the screws that held this plank in place when we glued it. I mean, normally you don't do that when you put in a new teak deck, but as we're relying on that for the rest of the planks when removing the screws, I guess we should be able to rely on it here as well. And also we had to sand this down, so this is only like 8 or maybe 9 millimeters now, and it's not that much left to actually keep a screw and a plug in. So yeah, we just removed it, so we have it the same way as we have in other places. And hopefully it stays in place. So we will basically drill them down and put in a plug later on here.
probably tomorrow when we do
the rest.
Yeah.
Yep. So just did the first rough sanding to get all the excess
Caulking
away. But this was with a 40 grit, so it's very rough. So we're gonna probably sand a bit more, but we're gonna fill this, put plugs in all the holes first before we do the final sanding.
It's really good.
I think it turned out really good. Okay, so as we've gotten the teak in place now, we can finally put back this mount, which has previously been used to attach the cutter stay to when it's not in use. We will not, if we'll put a furlong on the cutter stay, we'll most likely not use this one. But so we could actually have just sealed this up, but we realized that a bit late, and I guess it's not really in the way, and it's good to have a place to mount stuff too. Anyway,
maybe it could be useful
tie
for
down
the dinghy
or yeah, something like that. Get it in. You had acetone here, or?
Yep. So it's in place with the butyl, maybe you say. Yeah, so now it's gonna sit for a while, and then we're gonna tighten it a bit more, and then remove the excess butyl tape.